You're listening to the official podcast of the Salt Lake Bees. Klauke, Tony Parks with you, and it's our pleasure to introduce the new manager of the Salt Lake Bees in 2023, and it's a very familiar face. His third tour of duty as the skipper of the Bees, Keith Johnson, back after 2 years as the first base coach with the Miami Marlins. First of all, Keith, welcome back.
Well, thank you for having me. I'm excited about this season, excited about being back in Salt Lake, excited about, bugging you and hearing your stories, and but just overall excited. The organization is getting back to some things that the fans are going to enjoy seeing. As an organization, we're trying to win a lot more ball games and do it in a way that's exciting and aggressive.
I know the one thing that the front office for the Angels and minor league operations, very different personnel from when you were here last, and it sounds like you're going to enjoy working with them, knowing that they like to play your style of baseball.
Absolutely. It's a very familiar feel from everything that we've had so far, all the interactions that we had, all the conversations that we were having, what we're trying to do as far as interacting with the players all off season, just so that way when these guys come into camp, they know the expectation, they know the standards, and they live up to it.
You've always had this ability to win the trust of so many players. What's the biggest thing that's behind that to helping them feel that trust and then galvanize towards their ultimate dreams?
It's just honesty, being transparent. It's one of those situations where it's like, if a player needs to work on something, you talk to him about what he needs to work on. You don't do it in a negative way. You just do it in a way where it's like, hey, these are the types of things that you're going to need to help the big league club win ball games. And in the course of doing that, you're going to help us win ball games, and then put them in situations where they can actually do it in game. You can practice on things all you want, but until you actually do it in a game, it's for naught.
What was it like the last 2 years working in the big leagues, especially under a guy that's so well revered as far as managers are concerned, and Don Mattingly in Miami?
It was awesome. It was a great experience. I mean, obviously, we would have liked to win more ball games, but no, it was great. Donnie was great. The conversations that we've had together, and just talking ball, and obviously, one of my biggest things was base running, and when you don't have a whole lot of offense, everything kind of gets magnified a little bit, and we were trying to do some things and make some adjustments, and doing it at the major league level for the whole world to see. It was a little bit, a little harder, to try to get to where we were trying to get, but I thought we made some great strides. We were, second in the National League and fourth in Major League Baseball in stolen bases 2 years ago, and then last year we were second in all of Major League Baseball and first in the National League in stolen bases, and still at 81% clip. So we were doing some things, and especially in that ballpark, it kind of plays like Anaheim Stadium. It's a big ballpark. It plays big, so you go out there and we had some really good pitching, and you play some defense, and you run the bases, and you play the game the right way. You can win some ball games.
I would have to think that one of the things 2 years in the big leagues, it gave you, not that you didn't have it beforehand, really a much more vivid perspective on what it takes for guys to get to the big leagues, and that's something now you can apply back managing at this level.
That is a great point, and that's the one thing that was glaring. Being a AAA manager and understanding what it takes, and then from being a player too, understanding getting to AAA and going to the big leagues, and then over the course of the years how big that gap has gotten. So then just understanding that being back here after being in the big leagues for the last 2 years, just understanding how important the routine of your daily work, the players from the time they get to the ballpark to the time the game starts to the time the game's over, and how they recover and all that stuff, trying to make sure that these guys understand that that's where they're going to be able to slow the game down and get themselves prepared, because at the end of the day, when things go up there, things are going to speed up a little bit.
Yeah, what was your first wow moment in that routine and being around, among the best 450 players in this game at one time?
Just the consistency of it. It's like, everybody, the team, there's certain things that you have to do as a team, like taking ground balls, just so that way you understand how everybody's arm works, turning double plays and stuff like that. That's part of the daily thing. But each player has their own thing. Like when they get to the ballpark, it's like, there's guys that get to the ballpark, they eat their lunch, then they go do some stuff in the training room or get in the hot tub or whatever. Then they go hit, and then they relax for a little bit, and then they go out and they do their individual defensive stuff, and then they come in and then they get ready for BP. You know what I mean? So it's like, but it's different for each player, and it's like them understanding that this is their career. It's upon them to make sure that they get themselves in the best position, because like they always say, the best ability is availability, right? So it's a matter of understanding how to keep yourself available from the time that you get there to the time that you leave.
One of the things I know that I'm looking forward to having you back, and I'm sure things haven't changed, is that aggressiveness on the base paths.
Absolutely. And that's one of the things where, the game, like with the analytics side and how it's like age for level and how guys were kind of been moving through the minor league systems and getting to the big leagues really quickly, and how, the major league game got young really quickly. One of the big things is getting at a level and then trying to master that level and all the things that go along with that. Making all these mistakes at a level so that way when you go to the next level you make less mistakes. So then as you mature and as you get to the big leagues, when you get to the big leagues you have a better baseline for what you're trying to do. So just getting back to that, getting them to understand the importance of effort. It's like being aggressive isn't the whether you're safe or out. It's your primary lead. It's your secondary lead. It's your aggressiveness off the bat. How you make your turns. The timing of the game. All that stuff. So there's all those types of things that go into it, and we got to make sure that we coach all the way down to that detail.
Yeah, and with that, how much do you feel from your players sensing the abundance that you have when you say, yeah, we're taking this risk. We're going to push the envelope so often. When the light is that green, how much do your players kind of feed off of that ability to know that you have that belief that they can make the play?
I think it's great because it's like, a lot of things that, it's about decision making. It's like there's times in a game where it's like, Lee, how does that guy do that? How did that guy do that? But I think it's one of those things where it's like you think about hitting, right? Every time you get up there, it's swing, 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 take, right? So I think it's the same mentality you have to have on the bases. You have to, every single time, you have to run aggressively through bases and put yourself in position to go to the next base. And then if a guy feels the ball clean, then you don't have an opportunity, then you stop. You know what I mean? So just understanding that it's a go, 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 stop mentality as opposed to, you know what I mean? And then, each individual circumstance, you try to play to that circumstance. No, you do your thing the same way every single time. And then then the opportunities are going to present themselves.
Of course, we're talking with Keith Johnson, the new old manager for the Salt Lake Bees, but you have a brand new staff this year. Tell us about your coaching staff.
It's like, all these guys, it's going to be my first time coaching with them. Darren Ebert's going to be the pitching coach. Jack Santora is going to be my fourth coach. Joel Chamelis is going to be my hitting coach. And it's like, as a staff, we've had plenty of conversations, as far as the on-field stuff. So we're going to, continue to have those conversations, continue to make sure that we put the players in the best position, to accomplish the things they need to accomplish at this level so they help the big league club win if they're called upon.
And Ebert, he's a guy that has coached in the big leagues. Chamelis was in this league a few years ago with New York, so they're guys who know what it's all about at this level.
Absolutely. And it's been awesome, too, because, the conversations that we had, everybody has some ideas as far as what they want to implement so that way these guys are at their best when they get to the big leagues. Obviously, we're going to do a lot of things at this level that are going to mirror our major league club because, the last thing I want is for us to send a guy up and then all of a sudden his daily schedule is completely different. If we can do a lot of the things down here so that way when they step into that clubhouse, everything continues to be the same, it's going to allow them to keep the game slow.
What is it that people wouldn't know about managing a staff? Because they envision what it might be like to, oversee some players. You're trying to help them get to the major leagues. Your roster's shuffling the deck at a number of different times. But managing a staff, that's kind of like the team that you are around every single day.
Yeah, you're right. Same thing. It goes the same thing like with your you talked about relationship with players. It's about transparency. It's about having conversations. It's about pulling out, everybody and having them feel like they're a part of something or they own something, because we all own this whole thing. It's, it takes a village to raise a kid. It takes a village to manage a ball club, so just giving them the freedom to go out and express themselves and coach the guys up the way that they feel best, so that way they're at their best, and then the players will feel it too. It's the same thing with like raising kids. I keep bringing it back. If you and your wife are going through something, your kids come give you a hug, and it's like, wow, they sensed it. So it's the same thing with players. A good staff that communicates. We're going to sit here, we're going to have some arguments, we're going to be passionate about some stuff, but at the end of the day, these guys are going to know that we're in here doing everything that we can to make them better and give them great information.
We can't really say, we don't know what the roster is going to look like, but the good thing is the depth that has been developed over the last couple of years in the Angels organization bodes well, I think, for the on-field results for this year's club.
Absolutely. I'm like I said, I'm excited, being here, for as long as I was, then spending 4 years in the Miami organization and the last 2 years in the big leagues. It's been awesome, as far as for me, as far as my perspective. And then now getting back here, it's just understanding like the mental toughness and the mental consistency that it takes for these guys to get from this level to that next level and be consistent up there, and just understanding, what's going to be asked of them. There's a lot of guys that, young guys that are going up there and trying to be everyday players, and they're going to go from playing every day their entire careers to sitting on the bench and coming off the bench, so there's going to be some opportunities for us to try to emulate that a little bit, so we're going to do everything we can to try to get these guys ready in every asset.
Take me through your experience as a player. When did you sense, and what was the biggest difference between being a guy that was here every day and learning what it takes to be an everyday guy?
That happened for me a little bit earlier than most, because I was a 4th round draft pick with the Dodgers, and so coming up, and then I had surgery after my first year, and then I was an everyday player. Then once I got to AA towards the end of my 5th or 6th year, then I started playing different positions. I got moved off shortstop, so then at that point it was like, okay, I got to figure out whatever I have to do to try to play at the big league level. And I had some great managers, mostly Ron Renicky. I had Brumley here, guys that think the game, that were forward thinkers, that were about bunting, about hit and running, about, delay steals, about, trying to find ways to catch guys sleeping and always being alert. And so I had those guys to lean on, and there's still, those are a lot of aspects of things that they did that I have in my managing toolkit right now.
He's the man who has played the 5th most games of third base of anybody in franchise history. Keith Johnson back as manager. I still can remember that 3-run double in Edmonton to win Game 1 of the final series back in 2002. And again, a situation now where you get to sleep in your own bed and call Salt Lake home again.
Absolutely. And like I said, I love the community. I love the ballpark. I love the staff, the front office staff, you guys. It's, you guys all feel like family to me. So it's good to be back. It's good to be back.
Well, if that's the case, can I have an allowance?
No.
I've heard that before. All right, that's Keith Johnson back as manager of the Salt Lake Bees. Opening day, March 31st, 1 o'clock against Sacramento. Hope you're there.